Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Donald again, uh, also known as Donald the Security Consultant. Um, guess I got a lot on my mind this morning. I decided to do a video this morning. I usually don't do videos this early. A combination of obviously a lot of other things that I do outside of security. I tried to do a video last week, but for some reason the video was corrupted. So I do notice that there is a difference between Apple products and Samsung products, so decided to do it from my iPad. Um, for those who monitor my videos or who have seen my videos, you know everything that I do is primarily based upon security. I have a podcast on WordPress titled Safety, Security, and You. I also have a podcast on Anchor, basically titled the same thing. That's all dealing with security. It's on Anchor. For those who don't know about me, once again, I'm Donald Muhammad, 23 years in private security and investigations. I also do a lot of executive protection, or you may call it bodyguarding, but bodyguarding is a term that I try to get people to get away from, because when you think bodyguard, you think some big burly dude that is just ready to beat somebody up, and that is an environment and an image that I really want people to get away from. Executive protection is the norm. That's usually somebody that is well trained, because in our training, if you have to go hands-on with somebody, then you've already failed. Executive protection is more about being proactive and making sure that you get in front of the threat. You don't never let the threat get in front of you. You get in front of the threat to obviously secure your protectee. Recently, I did a blog on WordPress, and I kind of shifted away from the norm. I shifted away from talking about security and providing tips and just general conversation about security in today's COVID-19 era. And I kind of shifted away, and I kind of went more personal. Something that was kind of getting to me as a man, as a black man. And it was really just talking about a pivotal point in America. And you may say, well, what do you mean about a pivotal point in America? I guess the shooting in Kenosha really, it really got to me. I know the anti-police rhetoric that is out here. Unfortunately, I do know about the racial overtones in America. Being a black man, you may think, well, you're a security guy and, this, that, and the other. And I deal with racial injustice every day, and that's something that I've never shared. I get around a lot of states. I've recently been in Ohio, where unfortunately I ran into a lot of racial injustice in Ohio, and I had to just kind of keep a cool head. I'm not one of the ones that's trying to cause a scene. I'm not trying to video. I'm not trying to go anything. Being a security professional, you learn to have what they call thick skin. You have to have a level head. I have been in Wisconsin recently, where once again I have dealt with racial hostility. Once again, you have to keep a level head. You have to not look for attention. Unfortunately, a lot of us, we run into racial hostility, and the first thing we want to do is we want to make a video. Well, I don't believe in doing that. Security professionals, law enforcement professionals, I feel like we are held to a higher standard in our training. And that's not to say that any other profession is not held to a higher standard. I feel from a security and law enforcement standard, we are held to a higher standard. So that's the only thing that I can speak of. It's no different than having a CDL, a commercial driver license, something that I also have. Commercial driver license holders are held to a higher standard. That is why you see a lot of truck drivers getting pulled over or whatever the case may be, because there are things that CDL holders should be more knowledgeable of than the average person driving a personal vehicle, because of the extensive training that CDL holders, such as myself, have to go through. So we're held to a higher standard. So in my recent blog, I talked about a pivotal point in America. And it started off by saying, and I quote my own writing, I was going to write about the definition of security in my blog, but I decided to write this after seeing the recent video of the shooting in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Now, before I get into this, once again, this is not here to bash law enforcement. Yes, I have a really good relationship with law enforcement. Once again, I'm not a cop. I don't claim to be a cop. I've worked in corrections. I've trained with Homeland Security, also known as Federal Protective Services Police. I've attended community policing academies. I have done a lot of training in the field of security, but I do not claim to be a cop. But I have learned to make strong relationships with my law enforcement partners, because in this field, in security, you still have to have that relationship. But after seeing that video of the shooting in Kenosha, I thought about my own training, the training that has been given to me from the federal level to the local level to the private level. And there was something about that video that just really affected me. Now, there was talk about the alleged offender having a knife. Okay. That's neither here nor there. From the videos that have been widely viewed and the videos that I've seen, I didn't see a knife. Now, not to say that he didn't have a knife, but when you look at the video and how the alleged offender, is walking away back toward the officers, away from the officers, heading to his vehicle, and how the officer attempts to gain control of the alleged offender. And because the offender is not complying, the officer shoots him 7 times in the back. Now, that really did something for me, because I analyzed the video and I watched the video, and it really made me think about my own self as a black man in America. Obviously, I carry firearms. Obviously, I have interacted with law enforcement when I've been quote-unquote off duty and have been armed. Obviously, I'm a concealed carry holder. And I'm not going to lie, it's been in my own mind, you would think, well, you're 6'8" and security guy. Well, believe it or not, I've been nervous and scared dealing with law enforcement, being a legal concealed firearm carrier. I've had a few situations in Wisconsin where a vehicle of mine was totaled in Allerton, Wisconsin, and I had to interact with the Washington County Sheriff's Department. They were very nice. I did not make any sudden movements. I explained to her that I had my concealed carry. I explained to her that it allowed me to carry in the state of Wisconsin, and there was no issues. I was nervous. It was dark outside. I was still nervous because I did not want to make any sudden movements. I didn't want her to pat me down and she feel something and felt any type of fear of her life. But this video really sets an epitome of, once again, talking about, once again, America is at the center of the world with another police shooting of a black man in a major city. This once again points out the continued unjustified use of force when it comes to persons of color, especially black men. Now, I'm not sitting here joining the bandwagon talking about charge this officer with murder and fire the officer. I'm not doing all that. This video is not for that. But this video is really calling out the excessive force. We are trained, even on the security level, we are taught excessive force laws, and we are taught to withdraw when the level of force that's being pushed against you is stabilized. Basically, you're not supposed to use any more force that's being utilized against you. Now, if this alleged offender had a knife, once again, I wasn't there, and I can't speak for those officers on the scene. But once again, from different angles of the video, that officer's life was not endangered. And even if the alleged offender had a knife, did it really warrant shooting this individual 7 times in the back over an alleged knife? No firearms. There was never a firearm. The offender didn't turn toward the officer and point a knife. The offender never pointed in the direction of the officers with any type of firearm, but walking away, heading to his vehicle, and he shot 7 times in the back. So in this blog, I was also talking about how several months ago we witnessed the unjustified death of George Floyd due to the negligence and clear disregard of life by the Minneapolis Police Department, especially when Mr. Floyd pleaded with the officer indicating he could not breathe. Once again, I'm not here to criticize law enforcement. You may say, well, that's BS. You should be criticizing. I cannot criticize law enforcement because I was not there. I am just like anybody else. I have to look at videos, but from a security standpoint, we look at them a little bit differently. Because believe it or not, as security professionals, we learn. We constantly have to learn. We constantly have to train. But I can tell you that the officer in Minneapolis putting his knee on Mr. Floyd's neck was once again a disregard of life, and was really unjustified considering that Mr. Floyd was already in custody. There has been videos out there of Mr. Floyd already being in custody in the back of the squad car, and was taken back out of the squad car, and for those several minutes continued to have a knee pressed into his neck, which obviously cut off his airway, which obviously led to his death. So once again, a clear disrespect of life, and a clear issue of negligence on behalf of the Minneapolis Police Department and the officers involved. Now, we can also go back a while ago to the same epitome of the NYPD officer who used a banned chokehold that ultimately cost Eric Garner his life for selling loose cigarettes. Now, this same officer continues to work to this day and was even promoted several years after the situation. And as I say again, for those who think this is an anti-police rant, you can just stop right there. I'm asking you to please stop right there and just listen, because I support law enforcement to the fullest. I have a lot of friends in law enforcement, and along with being a former corrections officer for both the state of Indiana and the state of Illinois, and now a security consultant here in Chicago, I know some damn good officers. And that's just from personal experience. I know some damn good officers who get up every day and they strive to go make a difference in the communities that they serve, black and white, male and female. Asian. I know Asian officers. I know Hispanic officers. I mean, you have some damn good officers that get up every day to go make a difference in the communities that they serve. But unfortunately, on the other side, you have a lot of officers who are lacking in the use, basically in the justification of the use of force. And when it comes to black men, the decision is quicker to shoot first and ask questions later, or apply chokeholds, or just some of the things that they're doing against us considering how they respond to other races, preferably white men, it's one to be debated about. Now I'm going to put my other phone down, and I just wanted to touch on the blog that I wrote about it. And you may say, well, man, Mr. Muhammad, you seem a little different today, because you know what I am. I'm just, as a black man, I'm speaking more from a personal sense, in conjunction with being in security. Because when you look at the rhetoric that's being pushed out here, the anti-police, defund the police, this, that, and the other, I have been one of the biggest supporters of law enforcement for a while. But as a black man who strives to live the principles of integrity and service and professionalism, some of the traits that make the Illinois State Police one of the greatest agencies out there, not just in Illinois, but in America, you constantly have situations where law enforcement is quick to use excessive force on black men, when the same situation is presented with white men. They are just given multiple chances to comply. Now, one of the things that I was taught in security, and when I did a 6-week community policing academy from a respected law enforcement partner, he clearly said, you don't constantly give commands to an offender. When you constantly giving commands to an offender, you're giving that offender too much authority over you. So if you're constantly telling somebody to drop the weapon, drop the weapon, drop the weapon, and there have been videos out there of law enforcement telling white offenders to drop the weapon multiple times. There has been videos of white officers that have retreated when the white male offender was coming after the officer, and the white officer retreated and did not pull the trigger, did not utilize any type of force in dealing with white men. I have stated, and statistics have shown, law enforcement is more likely to be killed by white men than black men. And you don't have to take my word for it. Just look at the statistics. A lot of line of duty deaths by law enforcement is done by races other than black men. Especially domestic batteries. Especially in a lot of rural areas, law enforcement have been ambushed by white men brandishing rifles, shooting through doors, or just have been downright ambushed before the officer can even get out of his police vehicle at the hands of white men, especially in rural areas. But when it comes down to dealing with us, the lack of judgment and the quick decision to use excessive force always comes into play. And that is one for concern. So this video really today just moves away from talking about security and training and just topics of security, and asking you to reassess your security and analyze your security, and to always making sure that you are aware of your surroundings. Just asking you, as those who are watching this video, to really put yourselves for 1 minute in the shoes of a black man. Don't let the media fool you. The media will have you thinking that every black man is a criminal, that every black man is a thug, that every black man has 50 children and we don't take care of them, and every black man is just a menace to society, when that is just not true. You have a lot of successful black men out here every day that go to work. It might not be the best job, but they go to work to try to take care of their families, to take care of their children. You have a lot of black men out here who are taking care of their children. And you have a lot of black men that are working mediocre jobs because society will not give them an opportunity to make a decent living. And you also have a lot of black men out here who are starting to form their own little companies to be able to be a provider for their families and their children. So as a black man, as a black security professional, I just want to call attention today just to the excessive use of force and some of the unjustified use of force that a lot of law enforcement are presenting against us, considering how they seem to take what they say in law enforcement, a slow roll. A slow roll is when you don't rush to a call, or a lot of times the other officer may be waiting on their partner, so they slow roll. So I want law enforcement today, and those who look at law enforcement as role models and overlook security, to take a look at this video and understand that even as a security professional, we are held to higher standards. We have to know the laws and as they apply to us, and we know that even as security professionals, we are limited in our use of force, and we can only exercise the amount of force that's being utilized against us. Illinois law 720 under the statutes clearly say that once the use of force has been neutralized, then we have to basically de-escalate. And the same thing really goes for law enforcement as well. So today, I hope that people who look at this video will understand that there is definitely a difference in how law enforcement utilizes force against black men and how law enforcement utilizes force against white men and other races. And I really want the people to understand that even as security professionals, and as a security professional and being a black man, it does have an impact on me, because you strive to support law enforcement, but when you see situations like that, it really makes you not be in fear, because I'm not in fear. I don't use the word scared, but it makes you rethink your own affiliation and wondering, and as I hate to say, are you going to be the next victim as a security professional? Because I have had situations myself, being a 6'8", 280 pound, 289 pound black man. I've had situations where, once again, I've had to verbally de-escalate myself out of situations, not just with criminal offenders, but with law enforcement. Because as a 6'8", 289 pound black man, you're still looked at as a threat. And seeing the situation in Kenosha, Wisconsin, it really brought back some memories to how I have to make sure that I still don't make sudden movements, and how I still have to make sure that I maintain my professional decor when it comes down to dealing with law enforcement who do not know me, who do not know anything about me, and unfortunately will just look at me as another black man out here, which unfortunately a lot of law enforcement already look at black men as threats before they even see my credentials. So today, I hope that the other side is looked at, and a clear understanding of how we as black men are looked at, whether we are doctors, lawyers, security professionals, truck drivers, whatever we are as black men. I want society to know that we are just looked at automatically as a threat. And the clear use of force tactics that are utilized against us and how they're utilized against other races, especially white men, is one to really think about. Now, once again, I'm not here to pass judgment on law enforcement, and I'm not here to debate whether this individual in Kenosha had a knife or not. But as a security professional, I can honestly tell you, 7 shots to the back, that was clear excessive use of force. And once again, I'm not here to call for the firing or murder charge. I'm not here for that. I'm talking about the training part of that. The training part, and how we as black men are just automatically looked at as threats, and how we as black men have to be more mindful, and we have to, unfortunately, walk on eggshells as when we interact with law enforcement, whether we're security professionals or not, and how we have to keep in mind as a society, black, white, Latino, Asian, male, female, we have to keep that in our forefront, that America is at a pivotal point, because from the defund the police to the anti-police rhetoric and how they look at black men as threats without giving us a fair opportunity, without giving us an opportunity to have the same opportunity as they give white offenders. It's just something to really think about. So I hope that those that are watching this video will have a clear understanding about the use of force, the excessive use of force, and how the use of force is not equally distributed across racial lines. Once again, this is Donald, the security consultant, wishing you a safe week, always making sure that you exercise your security awareness, and that, as I tell my clients every day, that only you are in control of your security, and to be safe in this pandemic that we're dealing with every day. Once again, my name is Donald. Have a great day.